Wild Goose Festival is not just another gig, it's a spiritual awakening.
Wild Goose Festival is not just another gig, it's a place where people can come to dialogue. Where people from different denominations or even non-believers can come together with believers and actually listen to each other and talk to each other.
Yep.
Awesome. That sort of leads into my next question, which is, what impact could the Wild Goose Festival have in the larger community or in the world?
Well, I think for one thing, a lot of Christians in our country who get their voices heard tend to be conservative Christians, and so with regard just to Christianity and liberal theology and Christians who believe in justice and who believe in working on the justice system and who want to see rights given to all people and live in an egalitarian country can have their voices heard. So I think that this is very important for that, so that the outside parts of the country realize that Christians come also with voices of justice.
Yeah, that we're demonstrating that there's intersection and not polarization.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah, you answered it better
queer
than I
and
did.
Christian and progressive and Christian.
Yep.
Yeah.
Allies.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. Anything to add to that one?
I mean, it's really just so redundant. Probably I think that I do think people need a space and to go where they feel safe, and I think religion is hard to claim right now because it's got a really bad name. Spirituality does, and it shouldn't.
Yeah.
And it's like this is the place to reclaim it and to energize yourself and to get more confidence and feel brave when you go back out into the world.
Gain courage here in this space.
Yeah.
I feel like it's hard sometimes to decide whether to do all the reclamation work or whether to just let it go. And I'm a pastor, and I feel like it's hard to make that decision.
Wow.
So
Come on, be a leader, figure it out.
I'm trying.
You're not the only
Amy.
one who
I'm
feels
just saying,
that way.
like, that wrestling is such a piece of it.
It's obviously it's important if you're talking about the wrestling. That's inspiring, I think, to people that you pastor to. Like, it makes people feel like, oh, this is normal.
Yeah.
I
think in the church, if we can't tell the truth there, then there are a few places we can tell it. So I have a couple of creativity related questions. I'm an artist and I've been curating space at the festival all these few days in a tent right over here. We've created a working studio space and a space for conversation and art making and songwriting and storytelling. And one of the questions we keep coming back to is what sustains us? Where is the well that we draw from? And how does it keep getting filled? And I think for both of you, so many of us you've had such a public creative life and career in some ways that we've gotten to watch your work change and evolve, but you've continued. And so how does that happen for you? What sustains you?
Do you want to start?
I'll start. I mean, there's a lot of
Pizza and
things.
French fries.
I mean,
Those are two good options.
yeah, football in the fall for me.
Yeah.
No, I mean, my faith definitely sustains me. It's hard sometimes to keep in the face of troubles and violence and oppression and horrible things that human beings do to each other. It's hard for me personally to sometimes maintain that faith that we are in the hands of a much wiser, benevolent spirit, which is just what I believe,
Yeah.
And so but it's hard to let go when you also can be active in affecting change. So finding the balance between those two is sometimes a struggle for me, but I do have that faith primarily in overreaching, and so that provides me with sustenance. And also I have a 3-year-old daughter, and I think it's not that I experienced her and this incredible love that I've never had before, that I have for this little child, and it makes me go write a song about that love. But something happens that opens up, that allows more inspiration to come in so that I can write a song about, even if it's a song about violence,
Yeah.
It's because of the opening of that, because of her. And then, on the way up, I was listening to Notorious B.I.G. I was listening to, I forget which album it was, but just incredibly, the story of violence and life on the streets and a whole different way of being. And I was trying to sit there and like wrestle with that. And so those kinds of things, it's in the wrestling that I get the most inspired. And there's plenty of that.
Right, there's a lot to wrestle with. So not turning away from it. One of the conversations we had is that sometimes as artists, what seems like the most easy answer is to hide in the studio, whether it's art making or music making, and sort of be isolated, but that's actually not very life-giving.
Right.
And so getting out there and collaborating and wrestling with the pieces is more so, but also takes a lot out of us. That's sort of one of the tensions we've been talking about.
But I think it can be life-giving. I mean, if you put something together and then you share it, or even if it's your way of living a fuller life or being a better human through, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Everybody has different needs for
how to
It's
what
the
they
monk.
have to do.
It's the monk praying in the cave versus
exactly.
the world.
Exactly.
Yeah. We
It
all.
all adds to the energy, probably.
It's true.
Yeah.
We have to do our piece, whatever it is.
And I think friends can. I mean, for me, I'm a real hermit and a loner, but I still have really good friends that have created the well for me, and activist friends mostly, who just when I speak to them about what they're doing, it just makes me feel so inspired. And it's not to write a song about that specific thing, but it just makes me feel like I'm alive, you know, like it's not, everything is not hopeless. Like there's an active way to be in the world and to engage. And so my mentors for me are sustaining, and other musicians a lot. Like I really find going to see a band is really like important, you know, for me. And I have a kid, a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and she's almost 3. Yours is almost 4.
She's 3.5. Yeah. November.
I know. It just feels wrong to say the lower age. I want to round up, but
It'll happen fast.
that also created a different way of seeing time, too, management. So you didn't have as much.
Right.
So so if you know, like I have 30 minutes to write today.
Yeah.
It kind of puts a premium on going in there and just like really
Getting
enjoying
something
it
out.
and
Yeah.
engaging in
Yeah.
it, whether it's good or not.
Yeah.
Just using it,
Yeah.
using the time.
Yeah. No, I hear that.
Yeah.
I have 3 kids, and I used to hide in the bathroom. They're all boys, so I was like the one
3
place
boys.
I could hide
Ooh, that's-
and just be or think, and
That's active.
So the gift and the curse of being at Wild Goose is that we're unplugged, but news of the world has been sort of eking in over the last 3 to 5 days for some of us.
Oh, wow.
And it's overwhelming news, and it makes me wonder, as you're thinking about a particular performance and crafting it, do you think about holding the space in any particular way given current events, and how does that shape what you choose or your collaborative work together?
I mean, I think it definitely shapes what we choose. We make a fresh set list every show, every day, and so being here, we'll be mindful of what's going on culturally, and also songs of the spirit, songs of change.
Yeah.
Definitely, like, I don't feel particularly compelled to play my repertoire of pop songs at the Wild Goose Festival,
Yeah.
I'd like them to speak a little bit more.
We need
Yeah.
those too, though.
Yeah, we need them too. There's a place for them for
true.
sure.
We do.
But yeah, it definitely makes us mindful of where we are and what's going on in the world, especially at a gathering like Wild Goose.
Yeah, we're just and the legislation in North Carolina and transphobic stuff, and that's really hard. But I feel like that's going to change because it's not sustainable.
Right, it has to.
Not in this state.
Yeah,
Like, I know that.
We're gonna win out
So,
on this one. Yeah.
but that's a good space to hold at this space because a lot
Yeah.
of people, like for instance us, are not playing in North Carolina at all right now.
Right.
Except this.
Right.
Right. So this is like, because this is such an important space, and this is what's giving people energy to go back out and change those things.
Exactly.
But
yeah.
but also with the murders that happened on both sides of, I don't even want to say sides, that's even the wrong terminology. The murders that happened to the 2 African American men, and then the police officers and people that got injured. It's just you have to hold the space. You can't not be mindful of that.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you have to play every song about that.
No.
But you're aware of it, and you're not just plowing through your existence.
Right.
You know that everyone else is thinking about it, and all your friends are, and your family is, and the space is affected by it, because I think that the energy of everything that happens, reverberates, and so you have to be. But
Yeah.
we're not like real strategic though. We're not
Yeah.
just like, oh, we're gonna, create this thing and make people feel this. It's like, we just know that it's just, you know how it is.
Right.
It just happens.
Right. And
If you're tuned
present,
in, it happens.
Yeah. One of the pieces you were saying at the top about Wild Goose in terms of gathering Christian progressive folks and others, and there's a place for interfaith dialogue and church and anti-church even folk. One of the things we wrestle with is how do we create space that includes all of those folks? And it strikes me that one of the pieces that you offer and all the musicians who come is a sacred container, for all of us. And does it have that element for you? You talked a little bit about faith being a sustaining principle. Is there a sacredness in your
About
work?
this
For you in your work, in your
in our
performance?
our own work. Well, I think about the way that music lifts people's spirits and its presence throughout history in social change movements, and it's indescribably powerful, mystical, and so I always think every day I'm thankful that I get to play music, and particularly with Amy. We've been working together all these years and believing in so many of the same things, and so I just feel a deep gratitude. So in that sense, there is that like deep spiritual gratitude for this gift and ability to do that and to be around music all the time.
Yeah. Thank you.
For sure. I agree.
So my last question is a bit about, you just talked about how you have been working together for so long. We've also been in conversation about sort of the art of collaboration in the studio tent. How do you keep collaborating together over time? Like what have you learned about the process of working with another human and the same one for extended projects and time and seasons of life? And what has that taught you about the collaborative process?
The collaborative process is hard,
Yeah.
but it's really good. And I think it's taught me patience, letting go of your ego, and faith in the process of because we would have our separate songs and then we would come together to do a record. So you got to play your songs for each other, or you can send an MP3, which is easier because it's less immediate.
Less vulnerable.
And show your lyrics, and then the other person really puts their stamp on that. So everything shifts and it becomes an Indigo Girls song.
Yeah.
And you got to let go of it. I mean, for me, most of the times when I'm writing, I can kind of hear Emily anyway in my head.
Yeah.
So I look forward to that now because I know it's going to make it better.
Yeah.
I try to make it so it stand on its own because I know it'll be a better song if it can stand on its own.
Right.
But then I feel that the magic really happens, and so even though it's hard, after all these years, I'm like, this is bigger than the sum of the parts is greater than the parts, or whatever that phrase is.
That phrase.
I never quite
Whatever,
understood that.
it's 6 and 1/2 dozen of the other kind of
This is
phrase.
similar phrase.
Where no one ever says it right, but we all know
Right.
what it means.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, but collaboration, I know so many people that talk about how hard it is to collaborate, and bands that break up and bands that stay together, and it's a constant conversation about how you do that. You really have to trust the other person, and then both of you have to respect the collaboration and not do anything that damages. So, and that takes discipline.
Right.
I think early on,
To
because you're tempted to be egotistical or do
tweak
things
it.
that might weaken it, when you have to just keep in mind this doesn't take away from me. This adds to me, and it holds its own space. It's its own little baby.
it's its own thing.
Yeah.
What you
And you can
create
still go do
together,
your own
right,
thing.
could never happen separately.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
And it doesn't mean
Yeah.
you can't do your own thing.
Right.
And I think a lot of collaborators, I know the thing that trips them up is that they feel that once they're starting to collaborate, they can't go and do their own thing because they feel scarcity about their energy. And I'm like, no, because a good collaboration
Should give
is just
you
going to
energy.
inspire you to do your own thing.
Right.
I mean,
and go
don't you
try
think?
other things.
Totally.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
totally agree. Yep.
Would you add anything to that?
I mean, I think that we've just, I always talk about it in terms of a marriage or a strong union, where if your individual self is centered and strong and you have freedom to go and do your separate projects like Amy was talking about, then it really makes coming back together really great, And then all the things that Amy's mentioned, respect for what you do as a collaboration, that's different from what you do when you're not collaborating. And then we don't spend a lot of time together, really. I mean, we're on the road. We're constantly working together in shows, but we stay together by having completely separate lives. And
We don't even live in the same town.
no.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes some sense. I mean,
It's not because we don't like each other. It's
Right.
just, it's,
right, but just to have space, and then I
And
love what
we
you said
need-
about when you come back together,
Yeah.
then there's a real sense of that gifted time.
Yeah.
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 Because we do need different
Absolutely.
things in life. Like, we need, like, we are kind of opposite, so we sort of need different environments to live in and
Right.
different social lives, and in some way, it's natural. It's not like we said, we better live an hour and a half away from each other so that we stay together. It was more like, we didn't put in, it wasn't like we have to live in the same town, or we have to do this, or have to do that. It was like,
Yeah.
we have to live our lives as individuals and with our own families. And then this music thing, we take it really seriously, you know. So
Yeah.
we get together and practice, or,
Yeah.
you know, we make a record and we put all of our energy into it when we're in the studio and spend all of our time together, really. And then we go away from that. It's great.
I think what you said about not living in a scarcity mentality is so important. If you're always trying to store up for the next thing, or keep this small so you can do your family, or keep
Right.
your family small so you can do the creative piece, and to just live fully into each of those events like a feast. And
Hard to do.
Yeah, I'm not as good
It's
at that.
such a great way to put it,
I'm just
though.
not as good at that.
You're fine at that.
I have a smaller amount of energy, though. I tend
Yeah.
to get, I need rest quickly. That's
Okay.
just me, you know, but
to be restored.
I need to be restored.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna die young, probably before Emily does.
You just put it all out
Because
there.
I'm burning it. I heard that lack of sleep possibly leads to earlier dying. So I'm trying to catch up, but I
It's
think
hard to catch up once
I'm
you've
screwed
lost
myself.
it. It's my experience. It's hard to get it back. Yeah. Well, thank you. I need to say I've loved you both and your work. It's been formative for me, and I'm so grateful for this time.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's
Appreciate it.
flattering. Thanks.
Thanks to Wild Goose, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you to Wild Goose.
Sacred space.
Sacred
is.
space.
Thank you.